Folks, joining me today all the way from New York is Scott Kerr. He is the founder and head brand baker of Silvertone Consulting. They specialize in luxury and lifestyle brands. He's also adjunct at the Fashion Institute of Technology and is creator and host of the first of its kind, the Luxury Item podcast, where he waxes lyrical on the people and the companies that are shaping the future of the luxury industry. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Friska, for inviting me. I'm glad we can coordinate on being on the opposite ends of the world, but I wouldn't miss this for the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott, I was intrigued when I reached out to you because, every industry has accelerated their digital transformation, but the luxury industry, how have they specifically responded to the pandemic?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's no secret that some industries have embraced digital transformation faster than others, and luxury brands are notoriously typical for being on the slower end of the scale. And some have actually embraced it a little bit quicker than others, but it's also pushed the industry to develop these cutting-edge omni-channel customer experiences, as well as embracing these new set of customer values, like grounded in inclusivity and sustainability and ethical business practice. So it's not just the digital acceleration and transformation, it transformed consumers as human beings.
Yeah.
And because it changed their values, not just, shifting to digital, it also changed the way, brands have to position themselves in the marketplace. And, if you just think about the last 19 months, we've witnessed an evaporation of the borders separating markets, digital channels, and media, and the coronavirus pandemic only accelerated global retail's unstoppable march towards digitalization. And when you think about, and most amazing thing, markets that previously had little in common all of a sudden became closely linked with trends rising and interacting in real time. During this time, the Chinese market has emerged as especially influential with its transformation of both online and offline retail. Trends such as live streaming and social commerce and the widespread adoption of these super apps that blend, messaging and commerce and payment and fulfillment are now making their way around the world. I saw this recent research study from Boston Consulting Group, and they found while traditional markers of luxury remain critical in this post-pandemic world, superior quality, authentic design, elevated narrative, those type of things, they're no longer sufficient to connect with Gen Z and younger millennials. It's also about the degree of digitalization.
Yeah.
And as a result, luxury brands are collectively, investing hundreds of millions of dollars in digital technologies, which include, more integrated e-commerce and more in-store shopping experiences and AI-powered personalization capabilities. So it's really, this digital transformation has done a lot for this industry, and it's not just, like I said, digitalization. It's affecting everything.
And like you said, it's the digitalization, it's the inclusivity, because I have noticed that. I remember, maybe 10, 15 years ago, the Benetton ad was unique because it had people from all backgrounds. But now all the brands have that, right? You've got Asian people, you've got, African American people, got people from all walks of life. And it's really good to see that change finally being reflected in mainstream media. So in your opinion...
and it's not, right, it's not only...
Go ahead.
All I was just saying, it's not only in the ad campaigns now in terms of inclusivity, millennials and Gen Z and others are looking in the companies themselves to see how they're structured, who's makes up the C-suite, who's making the decisions there.
Yeah.
So it's not just the advertising, it's also behind the full transparency behind the scenes in the company.
So in your opinion then, who's a standout luxury brand that's actually come out stronger and better post-COVID? What have they done differently to those luxury brands that have not?
So I'm not going to call out any specific brands, but I will say that, because it's easy to lump, it's really the luxury giants like LVMH and Richemont and Kering and Hermes and Moncler, came out stronger and better. If you were to look at their last earnings calls, most of them were second quarters, you would say the world's affluent are drinking more spirits, buying more new designer gowns and jewelry and pricey handbags than they were even before COVID-19. And consumers in China and in the USA, the top two luxury markets, kept spending with abandon. Ignore growing concerns that the Delta variant could hurt travel and bring about new lockdowns, or the affluent shoppers had found other things to splurge on. And those were the things I was talking to you about before, all those luxury items. I'll just take, for example, like LVMH's fashion and leather goods division. That's their biggest vertical, which fueled the bulk of its growth, led by fashion brands like Dior and Fendi and Celine, enjoying record sales and profitability. Same kind of surging growth echoed with these other luxury conglomerates that I mentioned before. And these companies also had a head start because they leveraged digital technology, since the mid 2010s. And, for them, it really wasn't a pivot. It was more a shift into overdrive. But also the thing is that the biggest luxury companies in the world didn't just stay quiet during the pandemic either. They had the financial means to easily outspend rivals on marketing and social media campaigns.
Yeah. So they stayed connected to their customer.
They stayed connected. And what happened is a lot of these smaller brands, luxury brands, who had not adopted digital technology, had not jumped on board a while ago, all of a sudden found themselves losing money and became victim of mergers and acquisitions by these luxury giants. So they weren't able to pivot that quickly, and they got caught in the crossfire.
It was certainly mind-boggling. I remember a few months ago, walking through the streets of the CBD in Sydney, Hermes and Louis Vuitton, their lines were out the door, and your regular main street stores dead, absolutely dead. And so.
It's what the whole, they're saying it's the roaring 20s again, and it seems like it's the roaring 20s again.
And so what's next for the luxury sector? So what are the shifts we are yet to see, and how do you think the luxury sector will change how they engage, excite, and entertain their customers?
Yeah. There are a lot of areas that I think that are shifting, and ones that that we've all been sort of keeping our eye on is this idea of, we're seeing the importance of ethics. We touched upon it a little before with, inclusivity and sustainability, but the importance of ethics with affluent consumers, what their values are, and they're willing to pay more for brands and products that demonstrate values. Brands are starting to, get their whole house in order. If you just see how they're being structured now, but ethical and sustainable practices need to be communicated and backed up by proof. This whole idea of radical transparency, perhaps you've heard that term before, it's becoming more important, and the consumer wants to be educated, and they're listening. Luxury brands, the future of luxury is Gen Z and millennials. And the luxury brands are focusing on them, and they have a keen interest. Their earning potential of these two is the largest in the world. And that's about 60% of luxury purchases by 2025. And they're the ones that are most focused on this. So they have to, it's not just about today and creating these, sustainability efforts for today. It's about for the 5 to 10 years from now, because this younger generation is looking forward. And they're making decisions based on that. And the second one, I think, which is interesting coming out of the pandemic, is the whole idea of human connection. We all, we couldn't wait to get out of lockdown and start, because we're humans, that human touch. And it's unsurprisingly, human connection is growing in importance for luxury consumers in this post-pandemic world. The personalized and personalization human approach has been at the center of luxury sales in-store experiences for a long time. But now with post-pandemic, the human emphasis is both offline and online. And it also brings renewed focus to the sales associate. The definition of a sales associate in store has to be completely different. They have to be able to not only understand their brand intimately, because most of these consumers have spent a lot of time indoors in the last 18, 19 months, and they educated themselves on the brand. So not only do the sales associate have to be educated on the brand, they also have to be authentically engaging with customers on a personal level and having a high level of emotional intelligence to sense and understand and apply that power of emotions during interactions with customers. So you're going to see the whole idea of what a sales associate is change, because people want to still go to, yes, they'll shop online and they continue to shop online, but they want that human touch. They want that human experience. Their expectations of going into a store are completely different now. And it's up to the people that are at the store to provide that human connection.
100%. All right.